Alright, top 5 rogue decks of the format. We did the top 5 best decks of the format a couple days ago. If you guys haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. A couple of the decks on this list could have made it into that video of the top 5 decks, but they just missed out. The number one of those would be Lunalights for sure. This deck actually won the MCS and had 2 in the top 4. It was kind of an unexpected deck for a lot of people, not too many entered with it. But it's shown that it's definitely a competitor. Since then, it's still been doing pretty well. Not quite as good as some of the other decks like Harpies and Gaia and decks like that, but still doing alright. It has the same play that it does before with Saber Dancer. You just slap Saber Dancer on the board. Your opponent can't target it. It's got well over 3,000 attack points. It's very difficult to deal with, and a lot of decks simply just don't have answers for it, or they only have one, and it's very difficult for them to go into. Like Harpie Lady usually can't kill it without like Thunder Spark, and it's difficult for them to go into it. A Water XYZ also usually doesn't have any outs for that. They have to side deck into things to be able to get rid of that card. So it's very difficult for a number of different decks like that to be able to get out of Saber Dancer, and that one card, Saber Dancer, just single-handedly allows this deck to exist in the metagame right now. Just because Harpie Ladies and Water struggle so much against this deck and against that one card, they can just slap that card on the field and win a ton of games because of it. And if their opponent does happen to destroy it, they can bring out a second one, and they almost certainly can't get out of 2. So this deck is still going to be a threat in the metagame because of that. As long as Harpie Ladies are the best deck, or one of the top 2 or 3 decks, this deck is going to be a threat in the metagame just because it counters it so perfectly and so well, along with Water XYZ also. That deck gets hit by Saber Dancer really, really hard too. Cat Dancer is also in here. You still have that OTK play as well with the Crimson Fox. Turn your opponent's monster to 0 attack and then attack it twice and kill them with 4,000 damage. You still have that combo here. The deck still runs the hand traps to play with that too. So there's a number of different things this deck does. It can be really difficult to deal with, really frustrating depending on what deck you have. And yeah, it's just what Lunalights do. They're back. Alright, another deck that could have slipped into the top 5 but just barely missed out on my list was Thunder Dragons. Thunder Dragons are still doing well in the metagame despite the hit on the ban list. Aloof Lupine went to 2 alongside Gold Sarcophagus and Charge of Light Brigade. All 3 are now limited to 2, so it's difficult to choose which ones you want to run. Some people are going with Aloof Lupine, some are going with Gold Sarc, some are going back to the Light Torn Engine and Charge of Light Brigade, but this particular deck here, which was another deck that topped in the MCS, chose to go with 1 and 1 Lupine, 1 Gold Sarc, and also choosing to run Batteryman Solar in here. Most people are running Batteryman Solar now. It's kind of acting as a substitute for the Aloof Lupine, another normal summon monster that gives you an effect. It fills your graveyard up with monsters for your Levineer. It itself is a light monster, so it helps power that engine. So it's been a good addition to the deck to kind of make up for it. I know people use that in the TCG. So it's been a great way to make this deck be relevant still, to allow it to compete. It's still one of the best decks in the game right now. Like I said, I missed out just my top 5, but it's still doing most of the same things that it did before. Levineer blowing up cards. You got your rank 6 plays. You have all the same Thunder Dragon engine in here that you had before, the same monsters. And like I said, the deck pretty much operates much like it. It's a little bit slower now, so you don't have the Aloof Lupine plays giving you as often a turn 1 rank 6 play, but you can still do it though. So it's definitely very possible. But yeah, the deck is still doing pretty good, and it's it's good to see for people who invested money in the Thunder Dragons that their deck is still doing good after after so much time. Alright, next up we have Magnet Warriors. Alright, now Magnet Warriors are another deck that got support recently before Arc 5 when Gorgonic Guardian came out. That card is extremely powerful. It's limited. It's only decks with rock monsters can make it. But this deck fits that qualification. They're all rock monsters. Gorgonic Guardian can be made, and it is extremely powerful, being able to turn your opponent's monsters to 0 attack points, negating their effects, destroying cards, swinging over things. It makes it really powerful against several different decks in the metagame. Plus, they also have so many different Call of the Haunted and Monster Reborn effects in their deck where they can just bring back so many things from the graveyard. This deck can be really frustrating to deal with. Again, it's one of those decks that kind of is a little bit matchup based. It has some good matchups against certain decks in the metagame. It can just be really frustrating to deal with sometimes with it being able to tag out, especially with you trying to target their monster and they're just swapping in and out on you, trying to get out to their boss monster and recycling. And it can just be really annoying to deal with. So Magnet Warriors, one of the better decks right now, and certainly a solid rogue pick if you're looking to play in tournament or grind on ladder. Alright, next up we have Ritual Beast. This is another one of those decks, kind of like Water XYZ, that whenever there's a ban list, this deck kind of rises up and people start playing with it again because it's a good solid pick. They know what it does, and people are familiar with it. And no different here with this ban list. People are choosing to run Ritual Beast and having some success with it. I saw that it won a tournament, got in top 4 and a couple of others. So Ritual Beast is doing all right with the new list right now. It had to move away from the Endless Trap Hell variant. Obviously that skill got hit, so you can't just run a ton of traps with the skill anymore. But this deck has another way to play the deck with Destiny Draw, and you can also run things like the Ritual Beast Ambush now, along with the Kanadias and the hand traps we see here. So there's different options people can go with. They can also play Book of Moon, other anti-back row cards. So Ritual Beast is kind of versatile in that sense of they can play a bunch of different things. So yeah, people have been testing out different cards, different combos with this deck, combinations of cards to replace the traps, and it's been working out well. Like I said, the deck's been having some success, and it always seems to do this whenever we have a new ban list. People revert back to decks like this, and Ritual Beast comes forward, and we'll be able to. It's going to be interesting to see if it can keep pace and maintain a place in the metagame now, and see if it gets power crept like it has in previous formats where it kind of disappears as we go along. So we'll see if that happens again with Ritual Beast. Alright, next up we have Yosenju. So Yosenju got support recently, but we don't have any of it in this deck right now. We have seen some people playing with Pendulum version of the deck and some people doing okay with it, but it just hasn't quite reached the level I think that the traditional Yosenju deck has. And none of the new cards yet are being used too often. We do occasionally see some of them here and there, but for the most part, though, people haven't been using too much of them in this list. It'll be interesting to see if we get more Yosenju support, or people continue to not use them, or if they start to move in a little bit of the Pendulum cards here and there for protection effects. But as it is right now, people are just are going with kind of the old version of the deck, and it's having success. It does have some new skills to play with, so you can use some new skills with it. So it does have some things. This one in particular is using Destiny Draw, so not utilizing some of the new skills with it, but nonetheless it plays just like it did before. You summon your monsters every turn. You can attack and attack directly. You can do little tricks with them with their effects, drawing cards, building up your resources. They return to your hand, then you have your hand traps to protect, as well as the trap card and Drowning Mirror Force. Tank, you can search out whatever you need. So it's doing a lot of the same things it was doing before, and it's still really powerful. It's been a solid rogue deck and a rogue pick for a little while now. Throughout formats, the last few of them, it's been in and out of the meta game as a rogue pick, and right now it's back in as a solid rogue choice. So it'll be interesting to see if it can remain there. Again, we got some new skills, new cards have come in the game. I don't know how many more Yosenju cards that we could still get that we haven't received yet. But it's definitely good to see that people are using this deck, and I know a lot of people are excited about it. And yeah, so we'll see how it does going forward. Anyway, so as I said, we have our top 5 decks that we came out with. If you guys haven't seen that one, please be sure to check it out. We also have the top 5 budget / free-to-play decks coming out here in a couple days. That's going to be coming out on Wednesday next week, so be sure to look out for that one as well. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and you guys have a wonderful rest of the day.